Headed into this offseason, there is no team with more at stake than San Francisco. Last year, for the second straight time in the Kyle Shanahan era, they reached the Super Bowl but lost to their rival, Kansas City. So headed into this offseason, a little bit unsurprisingly, Lynch and Shanahan were looking at any way to really improve their team. And one of the biggest weaknesses on San Francisco's roster has been their tight end position. I know George Kittle's great, but the depth behind him has been questionable to say the least. So to address this, San Francisco brought in the tight end Logan Thomas from the Commanders. But will the former NFL quarterback turned tight end really do enough to spark San Francisco's tight end 2 game and maybe give them the push necessary to actually win a Super Bowl? We're about to find out by diving into Logan Thomas's career up to this point, his measurables, and his most recent film. We were first introduced to Thomas in Brookville High School in Lynchburg, Virginia. He was a dual threat quarterback, but he also played wide receiver, tight end, and defensive back. As a senior, he threw for nearly 1,500 yards and 20 passing touchdowns, but really what stood out was what he did on the ground. He ran for nearly 850 yards and an additional 11 touchdowns on the year. After his senior year, according to 24/7 Sports, Thomas was ranked as a 4-star recruit, and he had offers from Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Virginia Tech. Ultimately, he did decide to stay close to home, enrolling at Virginia Tech. During his first 2 years with Virginia Tech, Thomas saw limited playing time, but he was backing up a future NFL quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. After the season though, Thomas took over and started the entire 2011 season. And in 14 games, he threw for 3,013 yards, 19 touchdowns, while also running it for nearly 500 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. During his final 2 years, we saw similar production each season from Thomas, right around that 3,000 benchmark, 20 touchdowns, 500 yards rushing. So with his Virginia Tech career out of the way, Logan Thomas did decide to enter the 2014 NFL Draft. And while most scouts were viewing Thomas as a quarterback, looking back retrospectively, he has the perfect measurables for a tight end. He came in at 6'6", weighing 250 pounds, and he ran his 40-yard dash in 4.61 seconds and 10-yard split in 1.63 seconds. But when you turn on the tape, it honestly looked like he was playing a little bit quicker. He would routinely get the edge on a defense, and he also showed off his power in the running. And as a quarterback, even though he wasn't the most refined, he showed an ability to understand what defenses were doing and how to attack them. And as a tight end, I think that's especially beneficial because you can understand what the quarterback is seeing and where he wants you on the play. But Thomas wasn't drafted to play tight end, he was drafted to play quarterback. And scouts, while impressed by his physical attributes, had questions about his throwing motion and his ability to improve his deep ball accuracy. But despite these concerns, the Arizona Cardinals saw more positives than negatives in Thomas, and they selected him in the 4th round with pick 20. As a rookie, Thomas really didn't see that much playing time, but his first completion in the NFL was a touchdown for 81 yards. But after only 1 year, the Arizona Cardinals decided to move off Thomas and he was released 2015. He then found time with the Dolphins in 2015 and then the New York Giants in 2016. At this point, it really looked like Thomas was headed out of the league. He just wasn't going to be an effective NFL quarterback. But he also realized that, so he switched positions with the Lions in 2016, and it proved to be a fruitful decision. In his first 2 years as an NFL tight end, he saw more action than he ever saw as a quarterback. He had 144 yards and 1 touchdown, but he just continued to improve across his career. In 2019, for instance, he had his best year having 173 yards and 1 touchdown. But he only outdid himself the following year when he signed with Washington, having 670 yards on this year and 6 touchdowns. And most recently with the Commanders, he played in 16 games, had nearly 500 yards and 4 touchdowns on the year. So to really see what Logan Thomas is going to offer San Francisco going forward, we're going to dive into his most recent year's film. Starting out with his Bears game, Thomas is just running an out pattern, but what sets this play apart is how Thomas has the ability to adjust and then forces his way to a 1st down on 3rd and 3. In a play like this, you can see how Thomas's background as a quarterback really helps him. First, he chips this tight end to help out his tackle, but once he's out in open space, he is quickly able to identify the zone coverage and then settle in right in front of it. then much like a guy like Jordan Mason, he's looking to punish a defense looking to tackle him. He just absolutely destroys this defensive back. And no matter what play you turn on when Thomas gets the ball in his hands, he's looking to do the absolute most. On this play specifically, I think he does a great job of understanding where the yard marker is and then diving to pick up that first down. But if there was one thing to separate Logan Thomas from all the other competition he has, it's his athleticism. On a play like this, you can really see it come alive. He's quickly able to make it to the second level, and he does a good job of adjusting his route on a slightly off ball. And despite him transferring over from the quarterback position, I don't think his routes are too bad. In fact, he often creates a ton of separation like here. But maybe the most important thing is Thomas shows off no fear going over the middle. On this play, for instance, he knows he has two defenders that can absolutely crush him, but he holds onto this ball and is actually fighting for as much yards as he can get. And while I view Thomas definitely as a better pass catcher than run blocker, I don't think he's bad in this aspect at all. Like here, he does a good job of kicking out two defenders on this play, and that actually helps the running back pick up this first down. This isn't to say Logan Thomas is going to blow you away every time with his blocking, because he's not. He's much better in the passing game than the running game. But that doesn't make him a bad tight end too for San Francisco. They don't necessarily need another blocking tight end. They need a tight end out there who can really do some damage with his athleticism, and I think Thomas is just that guy. But ultimately, these are just my thoughts on Logan Thomas, and I want to hear your thoughts about who you want to see as tight end 2 headed into this season. Maybe Brayden Willis or Cameron Latu from last year. Me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing just an open competition. I'm really excited to see what Willis becomes in his second year, but if Thomas or maybe Saubert shows that they're the best tight end 2, I want them to start. But ultimately, these are just my thoughts on San Francisco signing Logan Thomas, and I want to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton if you liked and subscribed, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.